All right, last section of chapter 5, dividing polynomials. All right, we talked about exponents in this chapter. We talked about adding and subtracting polynomials. We talked about multiplying polynomials. We talked about special products of polynomials. We talked about negative exponents. And so now we're going to divide polynomials. All right, and so we have a couple different methods here. And the first method you're going to use is when you're dividing by a monomial, a monomial. When what you're dividing by is a single term. And if you're dividing by a monomial or monomial, you can take the top part and just separate it out into each of the terms on top divided by the term on bottom. So 6m squared plus 2m divided by 2m is going to turn into 6m squared, the first term on top, divided by the 2m. Whatever sign is in the middle, which is plus, and then 2m, the second term on top, divided by the divisor, the number on the bottom. All right, and then you're going to simplify like we did in a previous section. The 6 divided by 2 is 3. When we subtract the exponents, 2 minus 1 is m to the first. Plus, and then 2m divided by 2m, since it's the same thing on top and bottom, that turns into 1. All right, try your practice. Pause it. Here you go. Here's the answer. 8t to the third plus 4t squared, all divided by 4t squared. That becomes 8t to the third divided by 4t squared plus 4t squared divided by 4t squared. On the first one, first term, 8 divided by 4 is 2. On the exponents, you subtract. 3 minus 2 is 1, so t to the first. And then plus, and since the top and bottom are the same, that gives you 1. All right, example 2, just more of the same, just more of it. So I've got 9x to the fifth, the first term, divided by 3x squared, minus, because there's a minus up there, 12x squared over 3x squared, plus 3x over 3x squared. All right, and then you do each individual term. You'll have 9 divided by 3, which is 3. Subtract the exponents. 5 minus 2 is 3, so x to the third. Minus 12 divided by 3 is 4. And the x squared is 2 minus 2, x to the 0, so it cancels out. It just gives you 1. Plus, all right, this one's a little bit different. 3 divided by 3 gives you 1. All right, but when you subtract here, you get 1 minus 2. I'll go ahead and write it out. We'll have 1x to the negative first. All right, but we don't want to leave a negative in our answer, negative exponent, excuse me. So we'll write this as 3x to the third minus 4 plus 1 over x. Okay, and we could have gone straight there if we just realized, hey, we're going to subtract, but where are there more of them? There's more on the bottom, so I could say 2 minus 1 and leave that leftover 1 exponent on the bottom. All right, example 3, we just have more letters, but it's the same thing. We're going to take 8x squared, y squared, over the 4xy, minus, because of the minus, 16xy, over the 4xy, plus 2x over the 4xy. On the first term, 8 divided by 4 is 2. We subtract 2 minus 1 for the x exponents, gives you x to the first. 2 minus 1 on the y exponent gives me y to the first. Minus 16 divided by 4 is 4. The x's and the y's both cancel out because they're the same on top and bottom. Plus, all right, here the bigger number is on bottom, so 2/4 ends up giving me 1/2, or 1/2. The x's will cancel out because they're the same on top and bottom, but the y stays on the bottom. All right, try your practice ones, and I'll write the answers up here. So go ahead and pause. All right, here's your answer. I'll have 4x to the 4th plus 5x minus 3/x. And for practice 3, it'll give me 3x to the 3rd, y to the 3rd, minus 2 plus 1/5x. All right, finally, polynomial long division. Okay, it's kind of like doing old school long division. Okay, if I said 13 into 3,660, okay, dividing 3,660 by 13. All right, I don't do it all at one time. I say, hey, how many times will 13 go into 36? All right, 3 times 13 is 39, so it'll only go in there twice. I'll say 2 times the 13, which gives me 26. I'll write that there. All right, then I'll subtract. So I'll say minus. And 36 minus 26 gives me 10. I'll bring down the next number, 106. Try to figure out how many times does 13 go into 106. All right, I think that about 8 times maybe. I'll try that out. All right, 8 times 3 is 24. Carry the 2, that gives me 104. And then I subtract. 106 minus 104 gives me 2. I'll bring down the 0. And then how many times will 13 go into 20? That gives me 1. 1 times 13 is 13. I subtract, running out of room here, which gives me 7. And that leaves me with a remainder of 7. So this answer is 13 will go into 3,660 281 times with a remainder of 7. Okay? Or it'll go in there 281, and then when your remainder, you can just put it over what you divided by 13. And it'll give you 281 and 7/13. All right? We're going to do the same thing, but with polynomials. Okay? And so you're going to do this when you're dividing by a number that's, or dividing by a binomial or a trinomial. Okay, you're going to put the x squared plus the 7x, which you're dividing into, plus 12. All right, if there are any terms that are missing, meaning as far as exponents, it started out with the second exponent, then went down the first, and there's none. But if you're missing any of those, you would want to put a placeholder. We'll see that in another problem. All right, and then we'll put the x plus 3 on the outside. All right, this is a little tricky. All right, you're going to look at the first term of the outside and the first term of the inside. And you got to ask yourself, what can I multiply this x by on the outside in order to give me x squared on the inside? All right, so it ends up being x. X times x is x squared. So you put that up top. You'll say x times x, which gives me x squared. Then you'll also say x times 3, which will give me plus 3x. Okay, so you figure out what you put up there by multiplying it by the first term to match up with this one on the inside. But you multiply it through by both. All right, then you're going to subtract. And since there's 2 terms, we're actually going to change the sign of both. Okay, because it's like you're subtracting that whole x squared plus 3x like if it was in parentheses. I'll distribute the 3. All right, the first ones cancel out as they should. 7x minus 3x gives me 4x. And then I bring down the plus 12. All right, then I do it again. I say, all right, what I need to multiply x by in order to get right here, what we have here is 4x. All right, we need to multiply it by 4, so we put plus 4. Then we take that 4, multiply it by the x, which gives me 4x, and the 4 and multiply it by the 3, which gives me plus 12. And then we come through and we change the signs. We subtract, so minus 4x minus 12. And when we do that, we actually end up with 0 because everything cancels out. So my answer here is x plus 4. All right, and so what that means is x squared plus 7x plus 12 divided by x plus 3 is x plus 4. And so if you wanted to check it, the opposite of division is multiplication. You could say, hey, what is that answer of x plus 4 multiplied by the x plus 3, which we did in a previous section. And if we multiply that back out, we should get what we started with. So let's see. X times x gives me x squared. X times 3 gives me 3x. All right, then come through and multiply the 4 through. 4 times x gives me 4x. And 4 times 3 gives me 12. When I combine the two middle terms that are alike, I do end up with x squared plus 7x plus 12. All right, pause it, see if you can redo that for this next one. All right, here's the problem worked out. X plus 2 divided into x squared plus 5x plus 6. All right, I got x because x times x is x squared times the 2 gives me 2x. I'll come through and I'll subtract, so minus and minus. Those cancel out. I get 3x plus 6. I need to have a 3, so plus 3. 3 times x gives me 3x. I'm trying to get rid of that term. And 3 times 2 gives me 6. Come through and subtract. That goes to 0, so my answer is x plus 3. And if I multiplied x plus 3 and x plus 2, I will get x squared plus 5x plus 6. All right, let's look at this one. I've got 3x minus 1 is my divisor, what I'm dividing by. I'm going to divide it into 6x squared plus 10x minus 5. All right, I need to multiply 3 by 2 in order to get 6, and x by x in order to get x squared. So I multiply 2x times a 3x, that gives me 6x squared. 2x times a negative 1 gives me a minus 2x. I come through and I subtract. All right, which means on this one I'm going to change the sign. So it becomes a minus 6x squared, and that'll become a plus because minus a negative is a positive. The x squared, 6x squareds cancel out. 10x plus 2x gives me 12x. Bring down the minus 5. All right, and then see, all right, 3x in order to get 12x, I need to say plus 4. 4 times 3x is 12x. 4 times negative 1 is negative 4. Come through and I change my signs. Minus, and that becomes plus. The 12x cancel out, and I'm left with a minus 1. So depending on how the MyLab and Mastering ask the question, the quotient is the 2x plus 4 up top, and the remainder is a negative 1. All right, but you could also write it out if it asks it out in fraction form. You would write out your quotient, 2x plus 4. And then since your remainder is negative, you're going to put minus. Then you're going to put your remainder over your divisor, which is 3x minus 1. All right, and to check these out, a little bit more involved on your check is you can multiply the 3x minus 1 by the 2x plus 4, but then you also need to realize your remainder is the minus 1, so I'll put a minus 1 out here. Okay, so your quotient times your divisor, and then your remainder. If you multiply out, that gives me 3x times 2x gives me 6x squared. 3x times 4 will give me 12x. Negative 1 times 2x gives me minus 2x. Negative 1 times 4 gives me negative 4, and I bring down the minus 1. And if I combine like terms, that will give me 6x squared plus 10x minus 5, which is what I just started out in my dividend. All right, pause it and practice the next one. All right, here's how it works. 2x plus 1 is going to divide into 4x squared plus 8x minus 7. I need a 2x in order to multiply to get me 4x squared. 2x times 1 is 2x. I'll subtract, so minus minus. These cancel out, leaving me with 6x. Minus 7, I'll bring down the minus 7. 2x times 3 will give me the 6x. 3 times 1 gives me the plus 3. I subtract, minus and minus. These cancel out, I'm left with negative 10. So in fraction form, I've got 2x plus 3. And since it's minus, minus 10 over 2x plus 1. Okay, and then there's your quotient up top, and then your remainder down here. All right, and then finally this last one. Oh, sorry, a little bit more. Next one then. Our dividend, we do want to put in descending order as far as degree. All right, so I do want to have the 8x to the third first. All right, then the plus 4x squared. All right, as a placeholder, I'm going to put a plus 0x because I don't have a 0x up here, but I don't have an x term at all. But I want to put it there as a placeholder so that I have my division problem all lined up. Okay, it's kind of like saying if I said 1054, I would write 1054. There's no 100s, but that 0 is there as a placeholder. That's why we put the placeholder. All right, and then the 2x plus 3 on the outside. All right, I did the same process. There's just more here. 2 times 4 will give me the 8. X times x squared will give me the x to the third. I multiply 4x squared times 2x gives me 8x to the third. 4x squared times the 3 gives me 12x squared. Come through and I subtract, minus, minus. Cancels out there, 4x squared minus 12x squared gives me minus 8x squared. Bring down the plus 0x. All right, do it again. 2 times a negative 4, so minus 4. And then I need another x. Negative 4x times the 2x gives me negative 8x squared. All right, negative 4x times the 3 gives me minus 12x. Come through and I subtract, which in this case will actually turn the minus into a plus and the minus into a plus. Negative 8x squared and 8x squared cancel out. 0 plus 12x is 12x. And I bring down the plus 7. So just do it until there's no more terms left inside. or I've gotten to a place where this degree on the outside is greater than the one in here. All right, in order to get 2x to become 12x, I need to multiply by 6. So plus 6. 6 times 2x is 12x. 6 times 3 is 18. Come through and subtract, minus, minus, and I'll have 7 minus 18 is negative 11. So 4x squared minus 4x plus 6. And since my remainder is negative, I have a minus 11 over 2x plus 3. All right, pause it, see if you can do the next one. All right, here's how I would set it up. 3x plus 2 on the outside. In my divisor, I've got the 9x to the third. I have no x squared term, so I'll put a plus 0x squared as a placeholder. Then I got my plus 11x and the minus 3. Make sure the signs go with a number right behind them. All right, then I go through and I do my division. I need 3x in order to 3x squared, excuse me. 3x squared times a 3x will give me 9x to the third, which is what I wanted. 3x squared times 2 gives me 6x squared. I subtract, so minus minus. This one cancels out. I got minus 6x squared. I bring down the plus 11x. All right, 3x times a minus 2x will give me the negative 6x squared. And negative 2x times a 2 gives me minus 4x. I change the signs. Plus, plus. 11 plus 4 is 15. I bring down the minus 3. 3x times 5 will give me the 15x, so plus 5. 15x. 5 times the 2 will give me plus 10. I change the signs when I subtract, and that gives me minus 13. And so I have 3x squared minus 2x plus 5. And then my remainder is a minus, so minus 13 over what I divided by, 3x plus 2. All right, semi-difficult. Just got to practice these. All right, and then now finally, this problem here. All right, I've got the x minus 2, which I'm dividing by. And I'm dividing into x to the third minus 8. So when I have x to the third, I want to put a 0x squared and a 0x as placeholders because I'm missing those. Whatever your highest degree is, I want to go from there to the next one, all the way down to the constant. All right, and then now I do the same procedure. X times x squared will give me x to the third. X to the third squared minus the 2 going minus 2x squared. Come through and I change the signs. Minus minus, which will turn that into a plus. Bring that down. This cancels out. 2x squared. Bring down the 0x. I need to have a 2x squared, so plus 2x. 2x times the x will give me 2x squared. 2x times the negative 2 will give me minus 4x. Come through and I subtract. Minus, and the minus will turn that into positive. 2x squareds will cancel out, leaving me with 4x minus 8. Do it one more time. To get a 4x, I need to say plus 4. So 4 times x is 4x. 4 times negative 2 gives me a minus 8. Come through here and I change my signs. Minus that will become positive. Those end up both canceling out to 0. And so my answer is x squared plus 2x plus 4. All right, so pause it, try the next one. All right, here you go. X plus 3 will go into x to the third plus 0x squared plus 0x plus 27. I'll need x squared. That'll give me x to the third plus 3x squared. I'll subtract, so minus minus. It's become minus 3x squared plus 0x. Means I need to have a minus 3x up here in order for that to work out. Negative 3x times the x gives me minus 3x squared. Negative 3x times a positive 3 gives me minus 9x. Subtract, so this becomes plus plus. First one cancel out, leaving me with 9x. Bring down the plus 27. In order to get x to become 9x, I multiply by 9. 9 times x is 9x. 9 times the 3 is 27. I subtract. That gives me a remainder of 0. And so my answer is x squared minus 3x plus 9 with no remainder. All right, good luck. Try those out. Work on my lab and mastering. Email me if you have questions.